Hi, my name's Glen McDonnell. I'm the captain of a private motor yacht which is currently here in Palma. I've been invited to be part of the Balearic Yacht Show, and my participation involves getting a tour of this wonderful city of Palma. I'm really looking forward to understanding a little bit more about the history of Palma, all of the different civilizations that have passed, and some of the architectural significance of this wonderful place. Let's go and talk to Roxia and have a bit of a tour of the city. Hola, Roxia.
Hi, Glen. How are you doing?
Nice to see you. I believe you're going to take me on a tour of this wonderful historical city of Palma.
Yes, we are going to discover together the city.
Fantastic. I'm really looking forward to it.
We are going to discover together the city of Palma and the relation with the sea, but this is a very good point to start because here we have this sculpture, and you see it's a man with a sling, and that was the first sculpture we know about in the islands.
The first people.
And the name was the Balearic. So they gave us the name for the archipelago, the Balearic Islands. They were very good throwing stones, and they had lived in Mallorca between the year 1200 before Cruz till the 1st century before Cruz, about 1,000 years.
That's really interesting. I've never known that about this these statues.
Yeah. From here we can go to that side because we can speak about a little bit the history.
Okay.
Here we arrive where is part of the Arab enclosure. Here is a very beautiful and quiet place, and I would like you to introduce you also a little bit on the history of Palma. Palma, the city, was grounded on the 2nd century before Cruz. That's when the Romans, they have conquered the island. And they ground the city with the name Palmaria. The name means the victorious, because the palm leaf was the symbol for victory. Okay. At Roman times, Palma was not the capital, but was the second most important city on the island. After, on the 5th century, the island has suffered under the Vandals attack that came from North Europe, and the city was completely destroyed. So we have almost nothing left from Roman time. And after was also a very long period, 500 years long, when there was not an important settlement. And then on the 10th century, the island was conquered by the Arabs. Here we have this arch that date back to the 10th century. It's part of the Arab enclosure. Palma was one of the best protected cities on the Mediterranean area. And here on that side, we have also the Almudaina. The Almudaina was also built by the Arabs and was the residence of the Arab governor. And nowadays is the official residence for the royal family of Spain.
The King's Palace. The
King's Palace. They don't live here, they live in Maribel, but for any official events, then they come. It's also a museum that can be visited inside, and also...
I have been once inside.
Yeah.
Very, very beautiful.
Very beautiful. And the Arabs were here till the 13th century. Then the 13th century, the island was conquered by the Christian king, James I of Aragon. And he gave first the city the name Ciutat de Mallorcas, and later on came the name Palma. That's the name that we have nowadays.
So the story of Palma has nothing to do with the palm trees that exist on the coastline here?
No, because we have palm trees, and because the palm leaf was the symbol for victory, that's why they gave the name to the city.
Okay. As a cause of the victory. Oh, that's interesting.
We can also from here go to have a nice view to the cathedral that is the most imponent monument on the city. I like always to come here to see the cathedral because this is one of my favorite views. Here we have the Cathedral of Palma, that is the main monument, the monument that receives more visitors from all the island around the year. And we have also a beautiful view from the middle-aged city. The Cathedral of Palma is one of the few cathedrals in the world that was built by the sea. Nowadays it's not anymore at the waterfront. We can see the water is over there. But in the time when they had built it, the water has reached just the enclosure at the feet of the cathedral.
Where the water is here.
The reasons to build the cathedral in this point were first because it was the place of the Arab mosque, and the Christian king wanted to build the cathedral exactly in the place where was the Arab mosque. And the second one was a practical one. On that time we didn't have good roads on the island. So the highway was the sea. It
ocean.
was much easier to have the quarries at the coast, bring the stones on the ships, to bring them along the coast till here, and they didn't want to carry so far away. So that's the reason why we have it here. It took a very long time. They started to build it on the east side at the end of the 13th century, but the main portal was finished at the 17th century.
Wow. So
almost
300 or 400 years?
400
wow.
years.
That's incredible, isn't it?
And then later on, because we need to build the last enclosure, then we have to reclaim land to the sea.
Which is what we're standing on here.
And the water arrived to this enclosure that we had here. And much later on the 20th century, when we had the project to build the airport, then we have to reclaim land to the sea again. And we took it from there till where is nowadays the sea. That was 1950. And later we decided to build this park with the lake. And the lake is to remind us that the cathedral is one
built on the water.
That was built by the water.
The reason for the lake.
Here we are arriving this very interesting point with the beautiful Gothic arch that's called Gabella de la Sal.
Gabella de la Sal.
Here we have this beautiful arch from Gothic time. The name of the place is Gabella de la Sal. At that time, in the Middle Ages, here was the sea water, and also here was ending the torrent Sarriera that has divided the city in two parts.
Oh, okay. This is the original.
Everything was with water, so the ships could arrive here. And the building behind us was the warehouse for the salt. And here was the place where the salt tax was levied. And the name of this tax was Gabella. Every time the salt was bought or sold, they have to pay the tax.
Okay.
The salt was such an important thing on the time because it was only by salting the food that they could preserve the aliments. Even nowadays, the word salary comes from salt.
From the salt.
In the salt. From here, we will go inside the Middle Age city.
Okay.
The ground plan is a little bit like a maze.
Okay, fantastic. Let's go.
Here we come to Saladia. That is one of the most important monuments built in Gothic, civil Gothic style. And this building was the seat of the Merchants Guild. 13th, 14th century till the second half of the 15th century, trading and commerce was the golden time in Mallorca. Okay. And the Merchants Guild were in charge of maintenance of the port and also regulating and protecting all the commerce activities.
Between the merchants and the ships.
And everything. Because Mallorca was like a warehouse, a big warehouse for all the products in the Mediterranean. We have also a very beautiful guardian angel on the portal, the main portal. That is the protection for the merchants.
For the merchants.
From here, we can also walk to the seaside to see La Lonja, and we are going to see that there are these beautiful towers in every corner, so the merchants could walk to the terrace to look onto the port.
As a lookout over the wall.
Yeah, so when they saw the ships had entered the port, they could walk down and start with the trading, by buying and selling the goods. Here we are going to see an old gate from the city. This arch, this gate that we have here, date back to the 17th century and was part of the enclosure that came here along.
The wall?
The wall. And then when we had pulled it down at the beginning of the 20th century, we moved it here because the original place where it was situated was at the beginning of the Sea Street, where we have seen La Gabella on the other side of the street. And just beside, we have here el Consulado del Mar, that it was also a very important institution.
Okay.
Here we arrive at Consulado del Mar, another very important institution on this time. Here we have el Consulado Consulado del Mar. That was a very important institution created at the beginning of the 14th century. It was the tribunal with the jurisdiction about all the matters, affairs with the maritime activities, about the crews, the ships, the captains,
trading
and everything. It was related with the Merchants Guild till the 18th century. That's also why we have the guardian angel also here.
On this building.
Even that was not the main facade. The main facade was on the opposite
On the
side,
other side, inside
because
the town.
here was the enclosure, the protecting wall. The building that we have now here is from the 17th century, and we have also a very beautiful loggia in Renaissance style. And nowadays is the seat for the government of the Balearic Islands.
Okay.
That's why we have also the official flags on top.
Okay.
From here, I would like to enter again the middle-aged city to walk a little bit through the narrow
Back in
alleys.
through the squares.
So we can go this way.
Okay.
Sadrasana was the heart of the quota, because it was also the heart for the activity, for all the people who was living here. In the shipyard is where they have repaired, built and sold the ships, but in all the alleys and all the streets around here were also the craftsmen that were working in any activity that was related with that. There were the street where were the oar makers, or the sail makers, or the ones who were repairing the fishing nets, the others that build the barrels for the wine. So all the quarter was related with the
ship's commerce and repairs.
Also in the quarter were the places where the captains could go to find a crew for their ships, and also where met the captains. Here we have the sculpture that represents Jaime Ferrer. He was a captain navigator from the 14th century. 14th century, we say, was a very important golden time.
Affluent time.
And on that time also in Mallorca were many cartographs. The people who had made driving the charts, and many of them were Jews. Here there were important family, the family Cresques, and Yafuda and Abraham Cresques had painted the first Mapa Mundi, we can say. That is the Atlas Catalan. The Spanish king had ordered them to make it, to give it as a present to the French king. Nowadays, the Atlas Catalan is in the National Library from Paris.
And that comes from the 1400s as well, that same
Comes
era.
from the 1400s. And they have to keep a relation with the captains for the information. From here, all this is the Puig de Sant Pere. We are going to walk to the top of the Puig de Sant Pere.
Let's carry on.
In this quarter were many also alphonducs. It was a kind of inn where the captains and the people could stay, and also they have warehouse, they could sell and buy products. It's an Arab word, and it's the former for the today Fonda Inn.
Okay.
We can walk to...
There's some beautiful arches inside as well.
Very Gothic, yeah. Look, here we can see what is remaining from an old aqueduct.
The lower part here.
The lower part of the wall. This aqueduct was used to bring fresh water along the aqueduct and was brought in the bastion. Because water was such an important thing for the ships.
Yeah.
They have to load their tanks, and that was the way they have used to tank there the water, and then the ships could come near the bastion.
They would approach the bastion,
and then charge the water.
And the water that arrived here is coming from the mountains or from the river?
No, there are no rivers in Mallorca. They come from the mountains, and they have also the water tanks and brought it here to the city, and then inside the bastion. From here we can walk to the terrace of Svalbard, and I show you exactly where is the place where the boat
Where
came.
the storage is?
Yeah. Here we are on the terraces of St. Peter's Bastion. It's also a very nice, beautiful place. Here under these terraces is where is the water tank. Huh? The aqueduct that we have seen on that side had brought directly the fresh water into the tank.
For storage for the ships.
Storage it, and then on the other side of the wall was the seawater. So the ships could approach the enclosure and then recharge the fresh water that was so important for them. Nowadays, is the Museum of Modern Art. We have built a modern museum inside the enclosure, inside the walls. Huh? And when you visit the museum, you can see this water tank.
The remnants of the water tank.
The remnants of the water tank. That's why we have these modern sculptures also here. From here, we can go to see the parish church, Holy Cross. That's the most important for this area. Here is the bell tower from the Holy Cross. We can go a little bit further there and then I explain you about the parish church. This is one of the 4th oldest parish churches from Palma. The name Santa Cruz, the Holy Cross. The 4th oldest parish churches from Palma were built in the place where were the minor Arab mosque. The cathedral where was the
place of the mosques.
The main mosque and the other parish churches were the minor. And here was the parish church for the whole quarter, Santa Creu. Holy Cross is also the name of the area. And all the seamen, fishermen, craftsmen, they came always to this church. This was the parish church. Huh? After the commerce was declining, 16th, 17th, 18th century, the Mediterranean area was very dangerous because the pirates attacked, also because the war with France, and also the trading has gone to the Atlantic with the new routes. And then here, the commerce and the trading came down, but then they realized that they have to arm their ships to be defended, but not only to be defended, but also to attack. And that's why in the 16th, 17th, 18th century started the private earring. The private earring, the king gave them the letter of marque, and with that they were allowed to attack the ships that were with a hostile flag to the Spanish kingdom. We go to San Feliu Street. Is also a nice street where we have some houses with beautiful facades, and also there are many art galleries. Here we have this palace that's known as Abaco. Have you been there?
I have been there many times.
It's a beautiful place inside. It's also a palace from the 17th century.
Okay.
Here we have the beautiful portal of this palace. Behind those gates there is always a courtyard. You can notice that olden times the carriages could enter.
For the wheels of the carriage.
Yeah, and then here we have the knocker. That was for the pedestrian. And what do we have used that on top?
My guess is they're either really tall giants or maybe for the guys who are riding in on their horses, I'm guessing.
That's right. For the people who was coming riding a horse or a carriage, then they could also knock
without having to get off their horses.
The horse. That's a beautiful door.
It's incredible how tall it is.
Yeah. We are going to St. John of Malta, the church. Here we have the church. St. John of Malta. This church is from the 18th century, but there was a former one on the 14th century. The religious order of Malta were the knights that came after the conquering and have helped the king to reduce the infidels. So he gave them land to build the church and also land on the island and farms and so on. They have an important fleet of ships for military and also for commerce, and they have also privateering activities. It was a powerful order.
Okay, that's an interesting connection as well.
We have St. John here, and then on the top we can see the cross, the Malta cross. The Maltese cross. Here is going to be the end of our visit. I hope that you have enjoy it.
I'm a bit sad that it's come to an end actually, because it's been so enlightening to understand some of the history, the maritime history of this part of the city that I've visited so many times but didn't really know. So it's been wonderful to spend some time with you today, Rosia. I really appreciate it.
It's been also a pleasure for me.
Thank you very
See
much.
you. Thank you.